Welcome, welcome, welcome to Tuesday night's edition of the Final Boss Podcast. Hold on, we're there we are. Instagram is ready. Everyone else is ready. All right. Tonight's episode number 19. We're going to be continue our conversation about protecting your children from hackers and bad actors. We on the last episode we presented to you some of the issues and concerns that you may have with your children and their devices. Tonight, we're going to provide solutions. Now, that there's going to be a multiple series inside of a series. So, we're going to be back a few other nights before Sunday night show. So, stay tuned for that information. But let's get into it. You know who he is. You know who I am. Presented to you by a Trinity Entertainment Music Group. The information that's provided is for entertainment purposes only. And we're going to get right into it. Let's go, Mike.
All right. So we talked about last week. We talked about um, you know what's going on out there in the world and how your children are vulnerable. And in order to protect them, um, the first thing you need to do, this is the first thing, is you need to become knowledgeable. You have to know what platforms your children are on, every platform they're on, whether they're on Instagram, whether they're on TikTok, you know, whether they're on Snapchat, all of the platforms that kids are using, Signal, um, WhatsApp. There's just so many platforms out there, and the levels of communication that are happening are just so intertwined. So the first thing you need to do is learn what platforms your children are on. That's just number one. You have to know what they're doing, or at least what platforms they're on, so then you can monitor. So you need to educate yourself on these platforms. You have to understand that these platforms can be misused. Bad actors can get out there and cyberbully the hell out of your kids on these platforms, even on their Xbox consoles, or if they're doing Xbox or PlayStations, whatever they're using, they all have chat functions. And so the kids are in there gaming, and all these functions are out there that can be used and are used by bad actors to do many things, such as groom your children, bully them, you know, get them to do things, get them to reveal personal information. So, again, number one, you must educate yourself on every platform that your child is using. You have to know. So that means checking their phone, checking their app, checking their computer, checking whatever they're using, and have them explain to you. Say, look, hey, I'm not here, I just need to make sure you're safe. So let's just, to make sure you're safe, let's check out and see what's going on. What you got? What are you into? And then know what their screen names are, know what their uh, logins are.
Absolutely.
As a parent, you should be able to log into your kids' profiles and see what's going on.
And you should do it often.
And you should do it often.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So, part of the process of knowing what your children are using, part of that is once you have a list of everything that they're in, you need to go out and educate yourself. You need to learn some digital literacy, it's called.
Ah.
This is where you go out there and you learn what are the risks of this platform.
Mm-hmm.
And it's easy. Google search it. What
Right.
are the risks of using Instagram? What are the risks of using Snapchat? It's simple. I'm not going to spell out every single solution that there is, but I'm going to give you the pathway to find the answer, because you need to be responsible and go do the homework yourself. You need to get out there and actually learn this stuff yourself. You need to be more technologically savvy than your kids are, because as the parent, you need to be able to be in control of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just for your children's safety. This isn't to invade their privacy or anything of that nature. It's none of that at all. This is just to keep your children safe. So you need to be technologically savvy, which means you need to educate yourself. That's the big one. So some of the things you can educate yourself on are recognize phishing scams. And phishing scams are attempts to come through either email or chat messages, etc., to get your kids to click on a link to enter in credentials to give up their information. So you do Google search, what are phishing scams? So now you can go learn exactly what phishing scams are and how that they're used. There's called smishing, which is the same thing over instant messages or text messages. Vishing is voice. So
So
learn
learn
what
what
these
these
risks are.
risks are.
And the
And the
reason why you need
reason
to
why
learn
you
them
need to
because
learn
you have
them
to teach
because
your
you have to teach your
children
children
the same
the same
risks.
risks.
So once you
So
teach
once
your
you teach your
children
children
that these
that
risks
these
are
risks
out
are out
there,
there,
then they're
then they're
aware.
aware.
And
And
education is
education is
crucial.
crucial.
So
So
sharing
sharing
personal
personal
information is
information is
another one that's
another
a
one that's a
biggie.
biggie.
Because if
Because
your
if your
children share
children share
personal
personal
information about
information about
themselves
themselves
and
and
you
you
and
and
your
your
pets, your
pets, your
anything
anything
about their
about their
life,
life,
Right. Anything that can identify. Yeah.
anything
anything
identifying.
identifying.
Look,
Hmm.
if
Look,
I
if
need
I need
10
10
things to
things
steal
to
your
steal your
identification,
identification,
okay?
okay?
Identity
Identity
theft.
theft.
10 things
10
I
things
need.
I need.
5
5.
are readily available. Just like that.
Yep.
So it takes a little tiny bit of phishing, smishing, etc., to
Hmm.
gather a couple more pieces of information. And it might not be that they're trying to get the information about the child, but they're trying to get information about the parent.
Right.
Because who's got the credit cards? The parent.
Well, the parent, of course, but the kids may have it. You never
Kids may
know.
have it too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
And you remember we talked about locking down your credit. You need to lock down your children's credit too.
Mm,
If
mm,
you got
yes.
anybody with a social security number needs to have the credit locked. Anybody.
How long do you think that
That's permanent.
that's permanent?
That's
Permanent. Lock
permanent.
it permanently.
This is
Mm,
forever.
okay.
This will never change. The information's already been leaked. It's already done. It's permanent.
Wow.
Yeah, it's permanent. This is
Mm,
this is so critical.
okay.
Um, so again, as the parent, you need to educate yourself on what these threats are by doing searches. Find out the platforms that the children are on, and then go look at the find out. It's simple. Do a search and say, what are the risks of using this as a child? Now you learn it. If I tell you, you're not going to learn it as much as if you do your research yourself. This is a call to action. Get out there and do your homework. This is the only way you're going to learn this stuff is to get out there and do it. And then if you have questions, go ahead and hit up the podcast and ask some specific questions and we'll give you specific answers.
Absolutely.
But the thing is that if you go out there and do the homework, you can come up with some specific questions and we can address the specific questions
Absolutely.
and
So we're gonna
guide
give
you.
people breadcrumbs, and yeah, yep.
Absolutely. We'll
Hmm.
plant the seeds. Okay. I'm not. You can't just give someone everything. They need to learn it on their own. Otherwise, they won't understand it.
Absolutely.
They won't understand it. So the next thing that's important about protecting your children and what you need to do, and this is important, is another call to action because pretty much everything in this particular series is a call to action. This is the parents need to do these things.
Need to.
Need to
Mm.
open communication. So your children need to know that they can talk to you about what's going on their online life.
Hmm.
They need to be able to talk to you about that. Now, the reason why that's so challenging in today's world, and we all know this to be true because most parents get what 15, 20 minutes a day with their kids,
If that,
if that. So
yeah,
who has your children 90% of the time?
the teachers,
The schools.
schools. Hmm.
So the schools and the peers,
Yeah,
the other kids. So you know now we're talking crazy things happen when kids are hanging with kids,
mm,
especially in the digital world. So open communication. Your children, you need to have them talking to you. And you need to make it so that they understand. There's no punishment involved here. We're just trying to keep you safe. That's all. And they say, don't worry about it. Yeah, you do worry about it. I'm your parent. It's my responsibility. You think I'm going to let you cross the street when I see a car coming? You think I'm going to make you put your seatbelt on when you're in the car? Right? You think I'm going to make sure that when we're going out that I look around to make sure that there's nobody going to come and steal you? Right? And keep you safe and put a coat on you when you go outside so you don't get sick.
Absolutely.
So
And
your
it's no
job as a
different.
parent is that's no
Hmm.
different. This is
Yep.
no different than none. This is you're teaching your children is look, I'm responsible for you. My job is to keep you safe. It's not adversarial. This is a you and me are here and here. Your
Hmm.
safety is here. You're going to do your part to be safe. I'm going to do my part to be safe. I still love you. You're my kid, but we are together going to reach the safety. We're going to take care of everything that we can to keep you as safe as possible. That way, the child's not damaged for the rest of their life, right?
Correct.
So they need to know they can come to you if something makes them feel uncomfortable. And this is
Hmm.
not just for the online thing. This is just life in general.
Absolutely.
You always
Yep.
heard the term stranger danger, right?
Yep. Hmm.
Okay. Your kids need to feel safe in your presence to come to you if they feel something like that. And just because they do, you need to have your age appropriate conversations. And this is where, depending on the age of the child,
Hmm.
you're going to tailor your conversation differently.
Right.
The 14-year-old has a way different conversation than a 6-year-old. Okay?
Yep.
At a 6-year-old, you have a better chance at guiding them early and them following that guidance. At 14
Mm.
years old, they're going to be pretty damn independent.
Yeah.
So it's a whole different kind of conversation.
True.
This is where you're going to have to come with examples.
Hmm.
Okay? Now with the younger child, you say, "Hey, look, this is what it is. I know this. I'm the adult, etc." But when your child's 14 years old, it's going to be a completely different conversation because they think they know it all
Mm.
and they're technologically savvy. So you need to come with examples. This is where you do your homework. You educate yourself before you have a conversation with your child.
Right.
And we're talking about the dangers of the cyberbullying. Okay.
Hmm.
Now we talk about regular bullying in schools is somebody pushing you up against the locker or saying bad things, but also the cyberbullying. And with the social media, this is so prevalent, so prevalent. That's why we have such a high suicide rate. These kids are so hung up in their phones and their devices that that's their entire world.
You
And then
know.
somebody talks bad to them,
Hmm.
they give up.
Yep. You tied that in last on the last episode, man, and it made so much sense how you were able to link all these things together and how it affects a child that possibly will commit suicide or have these tendencies to do bad
The
things
tendencies, right?
because right, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because that's their world, and you have to understand as the parent that this technology has become their world.
Hmm.
You know, this is why it's important to get your kids involved in sports, outdoor activities, things of that nature, because it gives them another outlet. So they're not depending just upon the social media and technology as an
Some
outlet.
kids are being raised by this.
They're raised, of course, they call them
Yep.
linkers.
This is the
So they're
parent.
from
Yeah.
birth, from
Hmm.
birth.
Yep.
That's what I said. They call them linkers.
Linkers.
Linkers. They're linked from birth. That's why at uh, businesses are having a hard time now with these generations of hiring people to do work and they can't get off their phone. They're on the phone all day while they're working and they can't get their work done because that's all they know.
Yeah.
And you take their phone away from them, they lose their mind. Literally, it's like a drug addiction.
Yep.
It reaches the same parts of your brain,
Hmm.
same thing. So the online predators also you have to teach your children about what grooming is. They have to understand that it's a gradual process. It starts in this way and it moves and progresses forward. So go educate yourself on the steps of grooming. And like I said, everything that I'm telling you, you can do a search on. And it's so important, again, call to action to do your searches.
Right. Do your due diligence.
Do your due
Hmm.
diligence. Learn what the steps are of grooming so you can educate your children on what the steps so they can identify it. And not just that, so you're aware of it. So if you
Absolutely.
start to see it happen, you
Hmm.
can be aware that this is what's going on.
Absolutely. Yep.
So, and that's not just again technology, that's also grooming occurs in real life, right?
Hmm.
And inappropriate content. What's considered age appropriate content? Your children at 6 years old don't need to be looking at you know, they don't look at corn on the internet, right?
Right.
Because it psychologically changes them. And This is why children are having sex at such young ages now.
It desensitizes them across the board.
Yes, it
Yeah.
desensitizes them. You see
Yeah.
enough of it, it matters nothing to you. It's just what it is. It's just life.
And
It's
Mike,
hard.
as a segue to what you were just saying, I'm gonna say this: no kid under the age of 16 should be playing Grand Theft Auto 5. Your kid should be playing that. If the kid is under 16, he should not be playing that video game. But I'm just go ahead.
Total desensitization is what it is.
Yeah.
And that when there's how to be bad. That if anything, that teaches you how to be a criminal.
It covers everything in that game,
I know.
man. Yeah.
Everything. How to be a criminal. You
Yep.
know? Criminal 101. There you are. And then you wonder your kid goes out there and does these things. They've been taught.
Mm-hmm.
You know, technology's been used also. The military is actually taking advantage of these children who are gamers and they're
Oh,
teaching them
absolutely.
stuff because they've
Yep.
learned tactics. They already know tactics.
Mm-hmm.
So once you learn tactics, it's easy to apply from tactics into real world because you already have the mental capacity. You've already learned it. And so the military is taking advantage of that.
Yeah. Call of Duty propaganda.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Any of those, you know.
Only those
Once
games. Yeah.
once you learn tactics, man, it's everything's easy. So,
Yeah.
why do you think that the race car drivers are out there doing simulations? Why do you think pilots do simulations?
Mm-hmm.
Right? You do
Yep.
it in the virtual world. You can translate that pretty easily into the real world. Happens with your children too. So, knowing these risks, like I said, know everything they do. You need to know
Mm-hmm.
every game they play. Does it have a chat function? You need to know every social platform they're on their not just their phones, but their tablets, their
Mm-hmm.
laptops, etc. Children need to know about consequences, the consequences of seeing this stuff,
Mm.
that it hurts your brain,
Right.
that it desensitizes you so that these things don't matter anymore, and life doesn't have as much meaning in it because of this
Mm-hmm.
environment. So you need to make sure your children know about the internet is forever, and things that you post today or things that you say today are there forever. When we were growing up, there was no such thing as the internet. We didn't have any evidence. We'd go out there and do all the dumb things we wanted. We didn't. It didn't matter because there was nobody who remembered it or or documented it. Now
Right.
everything is documented. When you see a
Everything's
crime scene, what's
documented.
the first thing that's happened now? You see a fight in the street. You got 20 people with cameras. Is anybody
Mm-hmm.
trying to stop the fight?
Nobody's stopping a fight. Somebody's laying on
Nobody's
the
stopping.
ground, needs CPR.
Yeah,
Nobody's doing CPR.
nobody's doing that.
Everybody's
They're all
video
taking videos or
recording it.
doing
Yeah.
videos of it. Yeah,
Yep.
it's just the life we live now.
Yeah.
Everybody's got to get that
Everybody wants to go
attention.
viral
Yep,
for
everybody
whatever
got that.
reason.
Whatever reason, it's
Yeah.
ridiculous. So the next one is important. You got to set your rules. You got to set your boundaries. And the difficult part about that is if you've never set boundaries with your children because of this phenomenon called gentle parenting,
Mm.
which is really not parenting at all. Um, I know it might offend some people to hear that, but gentle parenting is not parenting. Look, you can't be your child's friend until they're in the world paying their own bills without you. Then you can be your child's friend. Until then, you're the parent.
So, Mike, let me ask you a question about
Hmm.
that. Do you think it's by design?
Of course, it's by design.
Okay.
It's designed to break up the family.
Mm.
It's designed to destroy the family. Nothing has meaning. This is why the gender thing is going on. Nothing has meaning, and it's it's really hard because you're fighting a tidal wave,
Yeah, a system.
the system,
Mm-hmm.
and so you know your kids. Your job as a parent is to prepare your child to live in the world without you. That's your job. There is no job. You're gonna love them. Yeah, you're gonna feed them and water them, and you're gonna do, yeah. But, your job, your goal is that your child can live in the world and survive and thrive without you. Okay, that's your goal.
Right.
And if it's not your goal, you need to reassess your priorities. Your
Absolutely.
goal is not to be your child's friend.
Yep.
Oh, my kid is my best friend. Oh my
Yeah.
God. Then
Yeah.
how can you
Yeah.
ever parent if you're friends with your kid? You can't be.
No. And you
It's
know
your
what? The
dog.
dynamic changes. It eventually changes where the parent is the child and the child is the parent.
Right, but That
Yeah.
takes,
Yeah.
if you've done your job.
Yeah. Correct. Correct.
If you haven't done your job,
Hmm.
the dynamic never changes
True.
because you didn't raise your kid to be independent. Now they're
Hmm.
constantly dependent on you. So this is where that's setting those guidelines. You got to set the rules. Um, and the reason why you got to set the rules is because you have to have boundaries. Look, children grow great with boundaries. Their job is to push the boundary. Your job is to not hold them forever, but you move the boundary with the growth of the child.
Absolutely.
Why do you think there's, you know what swaddling is?
No, I'm not familiar
Swaddling
with
is when you
the
take a
term.
newborn and you wrap them in a cloth so they
Hmm.
can't use their hands and all over, so they're kind of held like this. And you know,
Hmm.
children do really well with swaddling for a period of time because they feel like they're in the womb. They feel comfort. They feel safe.
Right.
You don't take a newborn and put him out in the middle of an open field. You nurture that child and get them to the point where they can play in the backyard. And then from the backyard, they get to go to the park. And from the
Hmm.
park, you see what's happening? It's
Yeah.
a growth
It's a
process.
growth process. Right.
So this is where you're setting your rules with your children so that they understand.
Hmm.
Look, this is a growth process. Okay. So that's why you have to do that. Now, the next part is, and we're getting close, but the next part is the hard part. And that is this, the monitoring and periodically checking. So when we talk about regularly checking devices, this is periodic review of their device usage,
Hmm.
checking their browsing history, their social media accounts, any installed apps if they put new apps on their phone. There's monitoring tools available for every platform, parental monitoring tools. For a Windows computer, there's the family. There's Google has it on the Google platform. On your Apple devices, it's there. So you have the monitoring tools are all available on every platform. And some of them are already built in, and some of them you can purchase if you want one that's specific. But the point is, even if you don't want to spend the money, you can still do parental monitoring. So, for example, on a computer,
Hmm.
a child has an account. That's their account on the computer. You, as the parent, also have an account on the computer. When you're in the parent's account, you're the administrator, you're in charge. You turn on the family, the parental protections, and it protects that child's account. And there's so much that you can do with that. You can limit screen times, you can track what they're doing, make sure they don't go to inappropriate websites. There's so many things that you can do. It's amazing the tools that are there.
Hmm.
And most people don't even know that the tools are there.
Wow.
And here's what you do. Again, call to action.
Hmm.
Google search parental controls Windows,
Take notes, people. Parental controls. Hmm.
parental controls Mac, parental controls iPhone, parental controls Android, parental controls Xbox. I mean, see what I'm getting at? Look
Yeah.
for these things. Search it. Do your homework. If you know your child's got an iPhone, go after the iPhone protection.
Yeah.
That's what you do. So it's very important. And some of the software that's out there is amazing, where it tracks all this stuff for you,
Hmm.
monitors your social media interactions, and provides alerts to you for suspicious behavior.
Right.
So you don't have to check all the time, but you can have the tool that goes out there and alerts you. So that's so important, so important,
So important.
so important. Um, we're going to talk about the being
Ooh.
engaged with your child's online activities, play games together, follow them on
Hmm.
social media, be aware of their friends. Okay, this is engaged. You're being engaged. Okay, you promote safe online behavior. You do your privacy settings. Teach your children what privacy settings are, and that protects their online accounts. Your children should have two-factor authentication on their accounts. I mean, Instagram, you should have two-factor authentication on Instagram or Facebook so nobody steals your account. Your children should have the same thing. Because if somebody
Absolutely.
steals their account and does bad things, now they're going to be subject to cyberbullying.
Mm. So much information, man.
So much. And we have just scratched the surface.
We're scratching the surface, but we're
But
coming back.
we're coming back because the next session we're going to talk about some physical things you can do.
Okay.
And I want to let you know we're going to talk about some actual physical things you can do. Your children may not like it. They're
Mm,
going to find it that they're going to call it invasive and all this kind of stuff. But we'll discuss it and talk about why the things that I'm telling you are so important. Because if you don't do your part, then and the bad thing happens to your kid, now how are you going to feel? Especially now
absolutely.
that you're educated and knowing
Yeah,
these things happen.
that's it. Ladies and gentlemen, next show, call the action. We're going to give you a call to action and give you some physical things that you can do. Please have your notes ready, your pen and paper. We're going to continue this conversation. This is the Final Boss Podcast. That's our time. I'm Turbo, the CEO. That's Big Mike. We're going to talk to you Wednesday, Thursday, maybe Friday. Stay tuned. I'll put the information out there on social media. Look for it. It's coming. A little commercial and to give you the times and the updates. And we're going to keep it going. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you, everyone. Great show. Great show. Great show. My man Mike. Boom, 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 boom. And that's it. That's our show. Have a good one. Stay tuned to the next one. Good night.